for a minute to back going again. It's unstable apparently. Only that now has fixed it. Anyways, welcome everybody. We're just gonna wait a few minutes to give people a chance to come in. So while we're doing that, I'm gonna put some music on and take care of some things real quick, and then I'll be right back. I'll be right back, folks. Right. We will, as I said, we're just waiting on more people to show up. I hope everybody's having a good week thus far. And we have reached hump day, Wednesday, the middle of the week here. So already getting over the hump there. I'm going to go off camera one more time here just to take care of something real quick. Be right back. Sorry. sometimes things get a little tricky when things happen in your throat that you really have very little control of. Like when you take certain breath and doesn't feel like the air is coming out of your lungs. It feels more like it's coming out of whatever might cause you to heave, as it were. Um, uh, anyways, I don't know if anybody else ever had that experience before, but not a very comfortable experience, to say the least. Anyways, as I said, we're just giving people a chance to come in before I get started here. And I said, hope everybody's having a good week thus far. Top Cat, the unbelievable Top Cat, leader of the game. He's a hip, he's a hop, he's a championship. He's the most tip top. Top Cat. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Here I come to save the day. It's Mighty Mouse who's on his way. Here I come to save the day. It's Mighty Mouse on his way. Casper, the friendly ghost, friendliest ghost you know, who'll haunt and save and laugh all day. How rich can you get? You're never gonna know till you met this young boy. Richie Rich is his name. His bank account is as rich as his name. Bank account is as rich as his name. That's rich. Richie Rich. Hmm. All right. So, anyways, so we're about to hit the 8-minute mark. So, that's about the time I usually go ahead and start getting things started. So, tonight we're going to be covering 8 articles, a couple from Bounding into Comics and 6 from CBR. The 6 from CBR are all anime related. And then got the two. One is for, kind of video game slash anime related, and the other, we're going to also. So, tonight we're going to, of course, cover some localization issues from Marvelous Europe, Marvelous Entertainment, the European branch, as well as looking at an article where Ethan Savage talking about as he predicts the demise of, how he predicts the demise of DC Comics, and which has been talked about quite a bit. EBS as well as Self Flash and a few other people have talked about how it's just a matter of time that DC might be shut down for good. And then, we got a few profile pieces in the anime section, between, like, for example, between Bleach and Naruto, um, which female characters were represented better. We have a case of couple of animes that had to do with, like, a time traveling mystery, supernatural time traveling mystery erased, and summertime rendering. Which one of those was better of the two? We're going to see why, we're going to talk a little bit about why the visors and Bleach were not featured as strongly as some of the other characters. Um, we'll look at some stuff regarding romance anime, among other things. Let's see. So, and of course, our daily wrestling roundup, just catching up on some of the news going on in the world of professional wrestling, WWE, AEW, and WWE and AEW. Everybody knows tonight is Dynamite. We'll talk a little bit about what's going on tonight, as well as some news that came out about WWE and the ever changing face of it. Um, all right, so without any further ado, we'll go ahead and start it here. and the article. All right, so there we go. Now this one's more in the realm of video games. We don't, we don't cover video games as much. Just how they are somewhat interconnected anime though, in terms of the anime, particularly the stuff coming out of Japan, obviously. So, Marvelous Western Localization Division omits all mention of Senran Kagura series from official website. As I understand it, the Senran Kagura series is kind of a Ninja Girl series, and as you may have noticed in the picture that was just up, there's obviously some fan service there. So, article by Spencer McCauley published yesterday. I'd seen this article pop up just before we finished up yesterday, so I was gonna thinking about doing it today. So okay, so here we go. Here, it seems the time of the female shinobi has finally come to an end, as in an apparent attempt to distance themselves from their parent company's popular fan service heavy video game series. I believe the parent company being Marvelous Entertainment. Marvelous Europe has omitted any and all mention of the Shinran Kagura um, from a recent relaunch of their official website. But said, I think this is kind of a ninja. Um, uh, Developed by UK marketing agency Pixel Kicks and unveiled to the public on August 23rd, so which was yesterday, the subsidiary's shiny new website provided the homepage for of Marvelous's English language localizer and publisher, with a much needed update to its overall presentation, including new graphics and a streamlined layout. However, the dazzle of the website's visual changes soon gave way to the discovery that under cover of the update, Marvelous Europe had brought their website back online, devoid of any reference to Shinran Kagura. And here's another scene from Shinran Kagura Festival versus 2015. Its absence of the girls from Japan's top ninja academies can be seen across the website, including its own internal search engine, which returns no results for the series general. So basically, their English language European branch is saying that they don't want to promote something that customers are going to probably want to buy. They're going to want the English language version. That's kind of stupid. I mean, it's basically like telling your boss that you don't agree with him. Usually that will get you fired. No records found. As well as its catalog listings of the developer's own titles, wherein Senran Kagura is noticeably absent from such collective categories as action games, the genre which all but the series spin-off series, such as New Wave, One F Peach Bleach Slash, Reflections, New Link, and Peach Ball fall into. So you go to the Japanese site and you see all these titles. You go to the European site, Marvelous Europe. Okay, so this is more. So you don't see anything of the good. You see the other stuff, but you don't see. And PlayStation 4 games, um, it is particularly notable for the fact that the majority of the series' mainline games originally released on the Sony platform. Ah, Sony, and we know all about Sony, don't we? How they're heavy into censorship as well. By contrast, Marvelous Proper's official Japanese website not only returns 33 results encompassing most every Senran Kagura title when searched for items related to the series. So basically, they're not going to, you know, they're not going to dub or release this in Europe, I guess. But it also continues to host and operate a full-blown Senran Kagura homepage. As I'm guessing, Senran Kagura is a very popular game, and I can imagine, I can see why. It's a game about Ninja Girls, Ninja Girl Academy. So we do have some pretty risky stuff, as well as New Blog, which provides players with semi-regular updates regarding the series' upcoming releases. Yeah, the parent company, I'm sure, is not happy with probably not really that happy with the European rents in there and stifling them. Anyways, as we continue on with the article here, yeah, I'm sure that the uh, despite this attempt to scrub their website of any mention of their association with the games, the first Google search result for the company name, Marvelous Europe, lists a since deleted promotional page hosted by the subsidiary in promotion of Senran Kagura Reflections dating sim. Mhm. This aversion to arguably one of, quote, if not the developer's most popular franchise, the most popular franchises, but its Western branch follows the 2019 exit of its creator and producer, Kenichiro Takaki, from Marvelous over concerns relating to, as translated via Deepel, quote, the recent restrictions on sexual expression. Mhm. Quote, sexual expressions are criticized, but there are also many people who enjoy them, unquote, explained to Japanese video game magazine Famitsu. In 2019, quote, in 2019, quote, I believe that such variations were one of the things that supported the game industry, but I was surprised at how easily they could be destroyed. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, over in Japan, they're 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 okay with allowing more fan service. Using as you noted that sexual expression. And I think Western customers, both in Europe and in the States here, are also and in Canada and all over, are cool with it too. It's the corporate jerk off who just basically want to stifle it for you know the virtue signal. Quote, I welcome regulations and restrictions, he said, specific genres and ranges. Like I think what he's talking about there is obviously you don't want like obviously these games are not for like real young kids. You don't want your grade school child seeing this. Okay, high school, high school is definitely okay. Maybe over middle, okay, but maybe and upon I yeah, right. However, I feel that the current trend is definitely aimed at destroying them. And some people might argue that this recent wave of censorship may be kind of, maybe a little bit puritanical, which it should be. Though he made no direct reference to the policy itself, many have speculated that Takaki's exit was spurred on by Sony's confirmation earlier in the year that motivated by the Me Too movement and the growing popularity of video game streaming among general audiences, the company had ordered a more scrutinous approach to sexual content of titles released on their console. So I think in layman's terms there, what they're talking about there is that since video games are becoming more mainstream and they're trying to appeal to quote unquote a wider audience than just the normal niche audience, they're afraid that they might get stymied because there are people in the general audience who may not be too keen on the idea of playing some of these games or looking at some of the obviously video did the visual. Notably, this policy has thus far seemed to disproportionately affect Japanese video games, with games such as a girl who chants love at the bound of the world, and Monkey Zero, Last Beginning, receiving heavy censorship or even the most mild of content. With games like The Last of Us 2 have released completely uncensored and to high praise. Well, I wonder if because the first two there are you got women being exploited, but the last one maybe men are exploited. I don't know. Senran Kagura Peach Beach Splash 2017. As of writing, Marvelous Europe has not commented on their omission of any and all Senran Kagura information from their newly revamped website. Editor's note: a previous version of this article incorrectly identified Marvelous as the publisher for Neptunia Senran Kagura. This title was actually handled by Neptunia publisher Idea Factory. Notably, the game's listing remains active on the but I think it's supposed to be on Idea Factory's website. Anyway, so there we go with that one. So basically, so the European branch of Marvelous Entertainment seems to be trying to trying to just distance themselves from Senran Kagura, which I guess is said to be probably one of the more popular franchises. They're kind of shooting themselves in the foot there for you know the virtue thing. It almost sounds like. Anyways, now we'll get on to uh, anyways, on to the next article we're going to cover here. Earlier. Now, this has been a story that's been going around for a while. There've been Ethan, as well as a few other commentators, have been predicting for a while that DC will probably, a matter of time before DC shuts down. So, Anyways, I actually need to. I'm sorry. I need to step away from the computer again for a few minutes. I'll be right back. I'll leave some music on as I listen to as I'm gone. Wait for it. I'll be right back. I'm back. Let's get ready to move on to the next story here. Um, Skyver Frog creator Ethan Van Sciver predicts DC Comics will be shut down. Quote, it's only a matter of time. And he's not the only one who's been talking about this either. I know Yellow Flash has done a number of movies or number of videos on this as well. I'm sure there are a number of people who feel the same way. Um, I think we all know why too. But anyway, article by John F. Trent, published August 24th. So here we go. Skylar Frog creator and former DC Comics artist, even then Skylar, predicted again that DC Comics will be shut down, and it's only a matter of time. Now, I know Yellow Flash has also talked about this, talked about how David Zaslav is really just doing a major house cleaning here. You know, anything that he feels is not going to be profitable for the company is just getting tanked. We've seen a number of cancellations of upcoming series, you know, over this. So, um, with that, let's further here. That's from the Cyberfrog to Rex Planet. Okay, Anyways, then Skyver's latest prediction came in response to a Twitter user describing him as a quote unquote dummy for pointing out the DC Comics and Marvel Comics injection of wokeness and identity politics has killed their sales. And actually, that's true though. That okay, the pushing of these narratives, the pushing of the agendas has actually killed their sales. And Skyver wrote on Twitter, quote, "Wrong is that comics don't make enough money for their parent company versus the manpower the publishing house require," unquote. He added, quote, "The corps only care about the IP. First, comics compensated for this by claiming to be necessary as cheap creative research and development," unquote. Let's see. And Skyver continued the thread, quote, "But it soon became clear that, in smaller quotes, Hollywood could build off of what's already been created and generate better Batman stories than DC Comics creators could," unquote. Quote, "Marvel and DC pivoted to become woke propaganda for their parent companies for tax credits and ESG. Sales tank card," unquote, he asserted. Now, I mean, I know Yellow Flash has talked about how like half of the DC titles, half of them are currently out of the top 100. Okay, the only titles that are even in the only titles that seem to be in the top 50 are Batman titles. Batman is the only thing that seems to be selling at DC right now. You know, I don't think Superman Son of Kal-El is still selling all that. I mean, they had that big push when they had the whole thing with Jay and Jonathan. You know, everybody knows that but that didn't hold interest for long. Novelty wore off real fast for that. Next, he tweeted, quote, "Turns out most people don't want to read comics if they're poisoned with social justice." Now, in some fairness, though, this isn't necessarily the first time DC put like social justice stuff into it. I mean, those of you might remember back in the late '60s, early '70s, you know, there was, you know, the Brave and the Bold series at the time when they had Green Arrow and Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Oliver Queen, and Green Lantern, Hal Jordan going across the country in a bus so that Green Arrow could show how some of the stuff going on. But now they still told good stories there. In fact, one of the big stories was um, that came out of that was Roy Harper he being exposed as a heroin addict. So they still did good stories back then, and they didn't overrun you with the message. So, but now they're like trying to like take a sledgehammer to your head to say you're banned because you're an asterophobe. Quote. Now it's only a matter of time for DC Comics, unquote, he predicted their demise. Quote, "Marvel Comics is healthier, but Disney doesn't need them either. When DC Comics closes, they'll go pretty quickly thereafter." Yeah, because I mean, even nobody will want to probably read them. And no, people don't want to read Marvel too much anymore either because, again, of the messaging. You know, that their primary competitor help bolster them. They're kind of like, well, we're just gonna keep going to independent guy. We're gonna go to like Ethan and John Malin and and Daphne Lage and R.J. Carter and Mike Barron and Gabe Elteeb and all these people. Finally, he concluded the thread writing, quote, by the way, I've read the op a dozen times. If she's suggesting that the problem is that we don't have an accurate count of comic sales, unquote, quote, how is that a problem shared by Disney or Warner Brothers Discovery, Dingbat? Yeah, I mean, Zasra has been cleaning house against Warner Brothers Discovery. They know what the books are selling and grossing, even if you don't, he bluntly stated. This isn't the first time Van Sciver has predicted that DC Comics will eventually be shut down. Back in 2019, he speculated that AT&T would scrap the company, detailing in a YouTube video, quote, kind of feel like AT&T is going to consider divesting DC Comics. That's what I think is going to happen. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure to do so. That's a lot of debt. Well, yeah, but I mean, again, it could still happen just simply because they've been saying that for the last few years here. I know EBS has said it. Again, Yellow Flash has talked about it too. So at the end of 2020, Ben Skyver also noted in a YouTube video that he received a tip, by the way, an unverifiable tip, I gotta say. I don't know if it's true or not, but they are saying DC Comics will close down publishing paper comics in June 2021. That hasn't happened yet, obviously. Quote, I think they just solicited March's comics, and I guess that, if it's true, that's going to be it, unquote, he added. And it's not quite true because they're still running with it. They're still going with it, but it is just a matter. It does seem like just a matter, unless because I think first out, I don't think Zaslav sees money in the comics at this point. You know, unless he just totally brings in a totally new bunch of writers and stuff. Unless he decides to bring guys back like Sam Skyver and LT and Darren. They're not really gonna have much more happening there. I think they're gonna keep the IPs for movie purposes, but the comics will probably go. Clearly, that alleged insider's information was wrong, as DC Comics is still printing paper comics. However, the idea that DC Comics will eventually be shut down is still not out of the question, and seemingly gained steam after DC announced that they were dropping the quote-unquote comics portion of their name from their website. Yes, and we did see that a little bit too. DC announced in a press release they were changing the website URL to just DC.com instead of DCComics.com, stating, um, parentheses, in quotes here, DC Today unveiled its fan-focused portal at DC.com, which will give fans easy access to all things DC, from fan first news to DC Universe Infinite, DC Top, DC Community, and DC on HBO Max. And of course, that you know again, if you guys have noticed too, there have been a number of titles that have been canceled on HBO Max too. You know, from DC. So yeah. Well, the new DC.com homepage will feature weekly drops, new video content, editorial deep dives, and discussions, digital experiences, and more. And fans will now access everything from DC Universe Infinite to DC Community with a single unified user profile, unquote, the press release stated. And that scene, of course, is from DC Pride, Tim Drake special. Of course, we talk a lot about the Jonathan Kent and Jane Nakamura storyline, but they also don't forget the Tim Drake eye as well. The press release does note DC.com will continue to be the home for breaking news and deep dives on the latest DC releases across comic books, film, TV, video games, all in one place. Quote, DC.com will expand to include weekly video content ranging from trailers for upcoming releases to look back at some of DC's defining moments across all mediums. Plus, exclusive talent interviews that you won't be able to find anywhere else. It added. Dark Knight of Trio number two. That was very good. Like 40 minutes in DC General Manager and Senior Vice President Anna DePete, CPA, also said, quote, DC.com is a celebration of everything across the DC multiverse, and we couldn't be more excited for today's launch, unquote. Quote, we are doubling down on DC's digital ecosystem, and there has never been a better time to be a DC fan than this one-stop shop. We're bringing everything together in one place to easily access and celebrate your fandom, unquote. She added. Wonder Woman Agent of Peace number 16. On top of their website dropping comics, David Zaslav and his new management team at Warner Brothers Discovery have been axing numerous DC projects and also sold a majority of the CW network to Nixon. And we've, of course, been talking a little bit about that too. DC film and TV projects that were canceled under the new regime include Batgirl, Batwoman, Naomi, The Flash, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, Strange Adventures, and Wonder Twins. Also been reported that the J.J. Abrams produced Batman Cape Crusader animated series is not moving forward at HBO Max, although it's being shopped to other networks. Yeah, that's the one that Bruce Timm got kind of was also part of. Bruce Timm, who was well known for his contributions to the DCAU in the 90s and 2000s, right there. What do you make of even that Scriber's prediction that DC Comics will be shut down and it's only a matter of time? Do you believe the prediction? When do you think it might? Well, it's probably a lot closer than people probably want it to be. Um, because you know it's one of those things that just seems like it's the death by thousand cuts scenario. So, anyways, we're done with that. So, get ready to move on to the next article here. So, now we're going to be having, of course, be doing anime articles for the rest of the evening here, for the night. Russian needs to clean up as well, but we're just gonna. There we go. That's the first article. When we look at your PDR on the anime side of it. Anyways, I need to step away from the computer for a moment. I'll be right back. Right. Right, I'm back. Um, right, so let's get ready to get on to the next article here. All right, romance anime can be cliche, but these series showcase realistic relationships. Many popular romance anime has given the audiences some of the most iconic love stories that are based on the realistic depiction of relationships. Article by Maham Arsalan published one day ago. Let's see. Young love, high school couples, and confessions are the essence of romance anime. Many seasoned anime fans have grown up with classics like Kimi ni Todoke, Nana, Aoi Haru Ride, and more. But each of these shows offers different sides of love. Unfortunately, the saturation of boy meets girl and subsequent happily ever after um, is quite evident. Honestly, fans have grown out of the whole quote perfect romance unquote bubble. For the past decade, audiences have shown great interest in anime shows which have a more quote unquote realistic approach to relationships and their complexities. The romance anime genre has gained countless gems throughout the years, which manage to tell stories that reach straight to the heart, whether it's about unrequited love or trying to process romantic feelings. Some of these romance animes, will give the audience the taste of how it's like to be in a real relationship. Uh, mhm. 53 minutes. Okay. Kimi ni Todoke offers a pure relationship. There's no denying that Kimi no Todoke deserves a spot in every list of, quote, best romance anime of all time, unquote. It's one of the most inspiring and wholesome coming of age stories that will leave the audience with a tear or two because it's that good. When an unpopular girl meets a popular boy, it simply isn't about a boy giving the girl a status quo push or even bullying her into accepting her feelings for him. Kimi ni Todoke is a beautiful journey in which two polar opposites find common ground in their feelings for each other and the things they love. Sawako Kuronuma and Shota Kazehaya um, are perfect examples of how two people have to go through a journey to understand their feelings for each other instead of just suddenly falling in love without any depth. Oramiya is a drama-free watch. Look at that. All right. Oramiya has one of the best build-ups of all time when it comes to romantic comedy, or as they call them, rom-com. Anime perfectly explains why every romantic story doesn't always need a damsel in distress. And I believe we did read a similar article on this the other day. Kyoko Ori is a hot-headed, confident girl who eventually falls for a shy and timid guy who hides his true self from the world. The fact that they become a couple without too much drama and get on with their lives is completely refreshing and realistic. There's no love triangle or a will they, won't they slow burn. Both the protagonists are well aware of their circumstances and how they feel about their personality. There are no unnecessary complications surrounding their families. They simply keep the quote unquote cliches out and share a very healthy relationship. After the Rain gives a mature outlook. This is one of those romance animes where the audience is divided over whether the protagonist's love is appreciable or not. After the Rain isn't a typical high school romance. Instead, it addresses a story far more realistic and mature than the audiences can expect. Shows about a 17-year-old girl falling for a 45-year-old manager of the cafe she works at. There are absolutely no down points to pick in this story because it plays at sensitive topics that are beautifully portrayed through the characters. Well, with the exception there, of course, I think the one big issue that you probably hear some people cry about is the fact she's a 17-year-old, trying to get involved with a 45-year-old. That would probably, grant 17. She's not 18, so she's not, basically by most people's moral standards, she's not she's not legal, she's not technically an adult. In Japan, age of consent is actually 15. So, um, just playing devil's advocate. So, um, I think the only real issue that people would have with this particular story is again the girl's 17, the guy's 45. They try to play it up as oh, the guy's a groomer or whatever, but I don't think that's the case. I haven't actually seen this particular show. This I haven't seen After the Rain, so I couldn't tell you if and when I ever do watch it. I'll let you know. The main character's feelings aren't discarded suddenly at any point just because of the massive age gap. Instead, it's explained beautifully that her feelings may have stemmed from her lack of courage and maturity. While on the other hand, the man values their relationship without harnessing any romantic feeling for Akira. There's a relationship, but it's so well crafted and unique that one can't simply give it a single label. Um, Kodakoi is a wholesome, quote unquote, adulting experience. Even though the word quote unquote otaku is a sort of derogatory term in Japan, it doesn't stop these four adult characters from keeping their passions alive. Wodakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku, is a romantic series where the need to appreciate people who accept one's love for things without judgment is expertly portrayed. Wodakoi follows the story of four adults in an office who are into different things like BL, which is boys love, cosplaying, manga. Narumi Momose, who is a hardcore fujoshi, is afraid to show this side of a romantic interest because of the fear of rejection. However, she eventually finds that with Hirotaka, she can be whoever she wants to be. It's almost impossible to find a good romance anime with adult themes and an adult cast, but Wodakoi captures the mundane nature of life and how even adults at times can feel like high schoolers when it comes to love. Where the show follows the different stages of the four main characters' relationships with each other. It's truly an experience that covers them both as friends and lovers. Does actually sound like a pretty interesting series to check out. That much is for sure. Hey, Chris. What is adulting? What is adulting? Yeah, Chris. Adulting, I guess, is a term that modern woke people, or I don't know, modern people have said. Basically the idea. It's the idea of, I guess, acting more like an adult. I guess, or doing things that adults do instead of being involved with things that quote unquote young people or children are involved with, like doing adult things, like I don't know. I think that's they've just I know it sounds kind of dumb. I get it. Thank you for dropping in, of course. Feel free to comment or ask questions. I'll try to answer them as best I can, but I think to answer your question, Chris, I think the whole concept of quote unquote adulting is just the idea of getting immature adults to act more like adults. Because I think in this particular case, in Wodakoi, love is hard for otaku. Is basically the idea is that otaku, being an anime fan, is something that's considered like immature or juvenile or whatever, and it's considered pretty derogatory. Anyways, I got to do some lighting adjustments here for a moment, so I'll be right back. And I do thank you for the like and the share, holding me in some more people in here. I'm gonna step away for a quick moment because I got to make some lighting adjustments here. So I'll be right back. I hope you'll stick around for more of the articles. We'll put some music on it. So that I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So we're gonna get ready to move on to the next article here. You'll stick around. You'll learn a little bit more. Um, anyways, we're getting ready to move on to the next article here. Alrighty then, and we have four people here. All right, so welcome back. Thank you. Anyways, getting on to this next article here, it looks like we have a fourth person. So hello, hope everything. Right? And if you haven't already, if you can like and share this thing, see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. So, summertime rendering or erased, which is the better supernatural time traveling method? Now, I've seen erased. I haven't seen summertime rendering. So that's a little, but erased is kind of very interesting. So erased and summertime rendering are remarkably similar in plot, but which one does the time traveling mystery better? Article by Gina Digna Van Carlo, published 15 hours ago. Following contains minors for both Erased and well, Erased been out for a while, so anyway. Despite international audiences having limited access to it, Summertime Rendering has the potential to be one of the best anime of 2022 so far. Now, normally I don't do articles with spoilers in them, but since I said the minor spoilers, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. Just I normally won't though. Its high stakes twist and great animation make it stand out to anyone who's had the opportunity to see it. I guess it's more with Summertime Rendering for those who haven't. A mystery anime hasn't had this kind of effect since 2016's Erased, and this may not be mere coincidence. When broken down to their core elements and themes, Erased and Summertime Rendering have a lot in common. They're both mystery thrillers that dabble with the supernatural. The inciting incident is the death of a loved one. In other words, what they're saying there is the thing that kind of gets the ball rolling on the plot is somebody, you know, is losing somebody you love. Both main characters can time travel and use this ability to find a better timeline. From this very specific foundation, however, the two anime deviate, where one takes the protagonist decades into the past, the other sends him only a few days back. One cast is threatened by a creature no one understands, while the other is facing another person. But which series does it better? Depending on one's taste and how Summertime Rendering ends this season, answers may vary. Let's see. We still have 4 people here, so that's cool. And thank you for the likes and the shares. Continuing on here. Let's see. The driving force in both series, of course, is, of course, the mysteries at the center. In the case of Erased, the audience gets hooked because they want to learn the identity of a serial killer who murdered several children in the past and resurfaced decades later, which is true. As I said, I've seen Erased. It's kind of it's quite interesting. It's quite eerie too. In Summertime Rendering, the murder mystery seems rather simple at first glance, trying to solve who killed Ushio and why was it covered up as an accident. While both are rather similar in the beginning, the two begin to diverge as one mystery continues to evolve while the other stays stagnant, from start to finish. The largest question in Erased is the identity of the killer. It takes a few detours along the way, but the main goal never changes. Back when Erased was first airing, fans dissected the series to find clues along with Satoru. From the discovery of Ushio's suspicious death in Summertime Rendering, presents more questions as Shinpei tries to find answers. As a result, theory crafting can expand in many ways. The question of who or what killed Ushio um, is actually answered before the halfway point, but more questions remain, like what makes Shinpei's right eye so special, or what happened on the island 10 years ago. Everything in the town, from the people to its history, hold pieces of the puzzle, and each piece that's uncovered creates more questions. Right? The characters. And I'm guessing those two characters are probably from Summertime Rent. That's probably Ushio and Shinpei right there. Let's see. Hey, Toys! Popping in before. Well, thank you for popping in, my friend. Hope you're enjoying the content. I hope to see you here more often, and welcome back. Hopefully, you start coming back more. Um, so I hope you're. So I hope I hope you'll start coming in more. Nice to see you again. Anyways, getting back to the article here. The biggest difference between Erased and Summertime Rendering is what the series ultimately decide to focus on. Erased spends more time on its characters, more precisely, spends a lot of time developing Kaio and her relationship with Satoru. Not only was Kaio a victim of the serial killer Satoru is trying to stop, but her home life makes her a character everyone wants to protect. Raised by an abusive parent, Kaio lights up at the simple pleasure that many take for granted. The most emotional moment in the series is her reaction to being served a hot meal. This makes the audience want Kaio to live as much as Satoru does. Summertime Rendering has thus far put more attention into the plot and mystery than anything else. Every possible moment is spent deviating from paths already taken and learning new bits of information. The characters get time and development, especially as Shinpei brings different people along with him in every time loop. With a longer story than Erased, Summertime Rendering doesn't come close to creating the same attachment to the cast, aside from Shinpei, character with the most emotional investment. Ushio is dead, while each of the side characters get a little time to shine, but they're nowhere near as fleshed out. Yes, Erased does use of time travel. I guess this is how they use time travel in the series. While both series depend on time travel to drive their stories, they play with this idea in different ways. Erased takes a more conservative approach as it uses Satoru's ability sparingly. Satoru knows about this power of his, but seems to have no control over it. He could be going about his day, and it suddenly activates. He's unfazed by it, as it normally only takes him a few minutes back. Being rewound back to his childhood is an anomaly. But he treats it the same way. He was brought back to stop something, and he's going to do it even if he only has one chance. Meanwhile, Summertime Rendering liberally uses Shinpei's time traveling because of how it works. He only discovers his ability because he dies in episode 1. And he realizes that he could die and the rest of the clock and reset the clock again if he needs to. That said, he starts each loop at a slightly different point in time and must take that into consideration. By the time episode 12 ends, Shinpei is on his 5th loop. Even though he explores new angles every time, Viewers may find looping every 2 or 3 episodes to be too often. All right, Supernatural. Now, before I continue here, I'm gonna need to turn on some lights here. So we're getting a little too dim now. So, anyways, I think I'll be again. I just need to step away from the computer for a moment here. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back now. So let's continue on with the article here. Um, continue on here. Let's see. Along with its limited use of Satoru's rewind, Erase does its best to stick to reality in as many parts of the story as possible. There is a monster lurking behind the scenes, but it's another human being. Knowing this makes his goal feel more realistic. He knows what humans are capable of. However, he's at a disadvantage in the body of a child. While Satoru may not be able to do much about the killer on his own, he does know the victim. He knows what days they disappeared, and something as simple as a change in routine could prevent a murder. Befriending the victims or finding a common thread is all he can do while he investigates further. Despite occasional instances, the race stays grounded in reality. Hmm. All right, so as if as if the time travel wasn't enough, summertime renderings su- supernatural elements are further enhanced by the monstrous creatures known as shadows. At first, there isn't a better word for them aside from doppelgangers because so little is known about them. It's only through local folklore that Shinpei learns what they are, but not what they want or how to fight them. That information is gradually gathered over several loops, and all Shinpei knows for sure is how to spot them and how to kill them. They are truly the greatest mystery of the series thus far. Alrighty then, so there we go with that one. So yeah, that, and I do, as I said, remember a lot of what they were talking about with the race there. So I can confirm a lot of that was what's happening. All right, so here's going to be the next article we're going to get into here. See where we're at on time and all that. Oh, an hour 20. So we're making good time then. Alrighty then. So here we go with the next article. Let's see now. Bleach versus Naruto. Which series did its female characters better justice? When comparing the female characters in Bleach and Naruto, which series had a more developed and interesting portrayal? Now, Bleach and Naruto, of course, were produced by both. They were both produced by Studio Pierrot. The animes were both produced originally by Studio Pierrot. So this is going to be an interesting look at this article by Alistair Johns, published 13 hours ago. So you got right there Sakura and Rukia, right there. Sakura from Naruto, Rukia from Bleach. Okay, so here we go. Shonen manga is famous for its treatment of, shonen manga is infamous for its treatment of female characters. There are exceptions in which the female cast outshine their male counterparts on more than one occasion, such as the power of Ezra from Fairy Tail or the entire Claymore franchise. However, a core component of shonen manga is that it's directed at young males, and the limelight for the protagonist is generally shown upon a heroic male figure, such as Naruto Uzumaki or Ichigo Kurosaki. Both Masashi Kishimoto's Naruto and Kubo Tite's Bleach have a loaded cast of female characters. Which is true. When comparing the representation of female characters between Bleach and Naruto, there are some stark differences in how they are handled. The importance of a character in a manga is not only raw strength and power, but also their development, their interactions, and their personal character arc. By analyzing the female characters in both series, it is possible to observe which series offered more time and consideration into crafting of strong female characters. Naruto, and you see again Sakura right there, and Hinata Hyuga right there. Sakura Haruno is one of the members of Team 7 alongside Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha, making her one of the main characters of the series. For the first half of the manga, her portrayal is focused primarily on her mental development, which is superbly written. She is gifted in chakra control. That's basically the ability to utilize chakra, and which is the source of their innate abilities to use ninjutsu. However, her lack of ninjutsu and low-level taijutsu quickly had her fall behind her two male counterparts combat. When Naruto Shippuden begins, there is a ray of hope as her training increased her physical strength beyond superhuman levels. Yet this hope is soon shattered as her arc retracts back into the observer of Naruto and Sasuke's journey. Yeah, to a point, that's kind of what happened. But in her own right, she's got some significant skills there, because during the kind of 2.5 years in between the end of the Naruto manga and the Shippuden manga, she trained under Tsunade, just as Naruto trained under Jiraiya, and just as Sasuke trained under Orochimaru. She furthered her chakra control because that's again one of Tsunade's strong points too, and developed into a strong medical nin. Hinata Hyuga has one of the greatest arcs of confidence in the manga. She begins as a timid girl, unsure of her power and place in the world due to complicated Hyuga family traditions. She evolves into a character willing to be the last line of defense against the Akatsuki leader, Pain, when all hope is lost. Again, internally, her development is sublime, but similar to Sakura, her position in combat scenarios is subpar. Tamari of the Sand enters the story as a strong, smart, confident character, and she keeps these traits, even evolving to more of a leadership role in the Great Shinobi Role War. But many of the female team members are left to support roles or overshadowed by the feats of their male teammates. Yeah, well, I mean, um, yeah, Hinata, yeah. Again, a lot of that is true, but again, these female characters still have strong points too. Okay, a controversial twist at the end of Naruto Shippuden is the summoning of Kaguya Otsutsuki, um, revealed to be the final antagonist in the series. Her sheer power is second to none, able to fight Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi Hatake simultaneously. Whilst this now, Grant, I'm not at that point yet in the anime. The anime right now, at least on Toonami, is right now we're doing the right now they're at the arc of in Naruto's footsteps, where you go back and you get to see, all of Naruto's friends taking their second tuning exams. And basically, I mean, at least tuning with Neji getting a double promotion actually. So, whilst this is a great feat of strength worthy of a final battle, her arrival in the manga is rather jarring, and after a monumental encounter with Madara Uchiha, it could be considered undeserved. If her character's arrival had more foreshadowing and chance to develop, it would have likely been welcomed with wider arms. Right, so now we get into Bleach here. Some of the female characters of Bleach. Hello, you fool, I love you. Wanna join the joyride? Join the joyride, yeah. The most notable female character in Bleach is Rukia Kuchiki. She is present at the beginning of the series all the way until the end. By the final arc, she has not only grown into herself respectively, understanding her duty as a Soul Reaper, but her strength is greater than the majority of the Captain class Soul Reapers in the series. Similar to Inoue Orihime, she played the role of damsel in distress. She overcame that phase of her character arc as one of the most well-developed, powerful characters in the series. Inoue may not have grown in power the same way Rukia did, but her mental strength began relatively secure and only strengthened to the point of being Ichigo's most trusted ally in the series. Though both Rukia and Inoue were the center of arcs focused on saving a captured female character. The standardized healing character, Retsu Unohana, turned the manga on its head in a similar vein to Tsunade and Sakura, but to an even greater degree. The foreshadowing of her development is layered throughout Bleach, and the deliverance of her conclusion is certainly gratifying, if sadly not given enough time to fully flesh out. Yoruichi Shihoen is a character who came into the series as a mentor figure for Ichigo, training him to achieve his Bankai, as it is great to see a female mentor character for a shonen hero. Her story had further layers to it due to her connection to the Soul Society. Shoifan, an, an important role in combating the antagonist Sosuke Aizen. Even a character like Rangiku Matsumoto, who in the English was voiced by Megan Hollingshead, who at first glance appears to be an over-sexualized token anime character, is filled with depth in her relationship with Gin Ichimaru, her responsibility as a vice captain, and intellectual insight. Even if she masks this with humor. That being said, there are other female characters who have personal developing arcs, but they are secondary to their male counterparts. And the Gote 13 captains are significantly split between 11 males and 2 females. In regard to antagonist, there is no major villain in Bleach who is female. Up until the very end of the series, the only substantial female antagonist in terms of high position and power is Tierre Hardybell, and her conclusion is rather unceremonious. Though it is notable that many of the female villains in the series survived the wars when the male characters did not. When considering the above examples of female representation in both manga, Naruto shows internal development for the focal female cast, exploring their growth from children into reliable ninja. On the other hand, Bleach seemingly makes a stronger case for the usage of female characters throughout the series when it comes to their place on the battlefield, as well as giving some strong development to 2 central female characters. Overall, both series have position for strong female character portrayal, but the evidence suggests that Naruto series left the majority of the fighting to the male characters, and Bleach portrayed a few fantastic battles starring female characters and gave their arcs growth. The verdict, when taking the shonen demographic into account, leans in favor of Bleach, but only by a small margin. Alrighty then. That's Alistair's, of course, opinion. These are profile pieces and some to a certain degree, opinion pieces. And okay, so we'll get ready to continue on here, and I will need to step away from the computer for another moment. I'll, once I get to the all right. So here's the next article we're going to read. But before I do that, I do need to step away from the computer one more time. I'll be right back. And I'm back. Legion's Visor had both Hollow and Shinigami powers. Why didn't they get the spotlight? The Visored in Bleach were set up to be major players in the series, but they were swiftly relegated to the background. Here's why. Article by Alistair Johns, published 11 hours ago. So same one as we just, or same author that we just, let's see what Alistair has to say here. So I guess he's a bit more of a fan of Bleach because he did a couple of Bleach articles. Yeah, okay. Hide Kubo's Bleach is overflowing with an array of personalities and unique character design. Okay, no, again, I'm sorry. I'm gonna need to go off camera here for another quick moment. I'll be right back. Um, Anyway, getting back to the article here, the quote unquote Soul Society arc saw the staple Soul Reaper cast came into play um, and swiftly steal fans' hearts. Some captains in particular becoming very popular. First, the Soul Reapers were introduced as main characters and as the main character's enemies. But by the arc's conclusion, it was soon obvious they would be fighting alongside the titular heroes. A new enemy came soon after in the Arankar. The direction could only end in one place. The Soul Society would face off with Hueco Mundo, um, Soul Reaper versus Arankar. With each new arc, Bleach introduced more characters to serve the story in some particular fashion. Purpose of each group was fairly obvious, even if it evolved as the story progressed. The Soul Reapers were foes, but then friends. The Arankar were Aizen soldiers and the enemy. The Sternritter were the ultimate challenge for Ichigo and the Soul Reapers, and the Fullbringers were a one-time collection of humans to train Ichigo and become a threat for him to overcome. Then there are the Visored. Shinji Hirako's band of hollified Soul Reapers started off with a fairly obvious purpose, but they still remained as the story developed, lingering in a purgatory of existence without urgency. How the Visored were underused in Bleach. The Visored originally came into the Bleach manga to train Ichigo in the use of his holification powers. Though the sheer amount of characters in the group implied they were a collection of warriors with a relatively bigger purpose, the implication was not simply that 8 new members had joined the roster, but that 8 captain class powerhouses were in the human world with the same overwhelming strength within as Ichigo. This was unfortunately a red herring, as the quote unquote turn back the pendulum mini arc came to a close. They stepped out of the shadows to take the battlefield, face off against Sosuke Aizen and his Espada. In the end, they either started a fight they could not finish, were handily cut down by Aizen, or even off screened. Only Hachigen Ushoda really had an acceptable showing against Baragon Louisin Baron. The others were treated as fodder to hype up the main antagonist after the quote unquote fake Karakura Town arc. Shinji Rojiro Shinji Rojiro Odoribashi, or Rose as he preferred, Love Aikawa, Kensei Muguruma, and Mashiro Kuma all rejoined the Gote 13. Their stint as reappointed Soul Reapers led to the continuation of off-screening, poor showings, and background comments. Um, and the unlucky few who did not rejoin, were cast into the world of obscurity, only to briefly return to be manhandled by a stern ritter. What went wrong? Character inflation and popularity in Bleach. One major factor that can be analyzed from details concerning Bleach's characters is the popularity polls. In the third poll, the was ranked highest visored was 42, far below the majority of popular soul reapers. As the fourth poll rolled around, Shinji had climbed from 42 to 41. The newly introduced Espada had already clambered up ladder above the visor, and the most popular captains, such as Toshio Hitsugaya, Yakuya and Pachi Zaraki, had remained stable in high position. The visored simply weren't popular characters in the established world of Bleach, and the viewership desired to see more of the characters they loved. Possibility for that lack of engagement could be due to the time that was given to Gote 13 before the visor were introduced. They were coming into Bleach after Tite Kubo had already created a stellar cast of characters with a multitude of abilities he needed to show before the story's conclusion. And the Visored were all secondary in the time constraint he had. Let's see where we're at. Hour 48. We're gonna look like we're gonna probably end up going over 2 hours probably. Out of the 8 visored, only 2 had their bankai shown in the manga. Only one extra given during the Bleach Can't Feel Your Own World light novel. During the manga's run, they were used to hype up antagonists for the Gote captains or main characters, and their supposedly overpowering holification ability was left in the dust, no longer being an ace in the hole in battle. The sad reality is that the Visored were a group to help Ichigo grow. As the fake Karakura town war commenced, there was not much room to fit them in, but they came anyway. Perhaps the issue with too many characters in Shinji's band, had they been reduced to perhaps 2 or 3 captain class characters who helped Ichigo control his hollow mask and then confronted Aizen and his troop, um, to then replace vacant captain positions after the war, their importance would not have been so lackluster. Regardless, the Visored were a sour disappointment with so much untapped potential, all bark and no bite. Okay. So Alistair, I guess, has quite a bit to say about Bleach, doesn't he? Right, let me just kind of remind myself how many more. So we got 1, 2. So we got 2 more articles to do, then we'll be finished. The articles. Get to the. Okay, so here's another profile article we'll look at here. Let me see if there's anybody else here outside of myself. Guess not. Okay. Me and you and the dog named Boo trying to all get along. How Angel Beats' version of the afterlife compares to Haibane Renmei's. While Haibane Renmei and Angel Beats both explore forgiveness and moving on after death, each series depiction of the afterlife sets a unique tone. Article by Alexis Chambers, published 8 hours ago. So, Haibane Renmei is on the right there, and then on the left are the characters from Angel Beats. Thanks to series like Your Lie in April and Anohana, there is no shortage of anime dealing with death, grief, and loss. While less stories focus on the process of dying and how those left behind learn to cope. Angel Beats and Haibane Renmei take a different approach. They explore what lies ahead after death, presenting stories of characters who have died and found themselves in the afterlife. Haibane Renmei, which aired in 2002, follows the story of a young girl who wakes to find herself with a halo and small gray wings. Surrounded by other angel-like people, Raka sets out to understand the walled-in town she lives in and the reason behind the mysterious disappearances. 2010's Angel Beats also depict a purgatory-like afterlife, presenting Yuzuru Otonashi's struggle with amnesia as he is thrown into a conflict in the high school set afterlife. Many anime fans compare the two as both series are built around similar premises and themes. However, each one provides a different take on the subject, utilizing setting, art, and world building to set a unique tone. Hibane Renmei and Angel Beats explore redemption and moving on. Set in purgatory like settings, Angel Beats and Hibane Renmei present their characters with the opportunity to achieve the fulfillment or redemption their deaths had cost them. Moving on is an important process in both stories, as it is what motivates their characters forward as they come to terms with the afterlife. While the process is met with initial trepidation and anxiety, the characters in both series eventually come to terms with their life before death and understand the importance of achieving peace of mind and spirit required for moving on. Hibane Renmei presents this theme by emphasizing forgiveness. The Hibane, angel like beings, are likely born from the souls of those who died, giving them a second chance to live out their lives. However, some Hibane are sin bound, cursed by lingering regret and trauma. While they do live in the walled in town of Glie rather happily, the end goal is for each Hibane to receive the day of flight, um, quietly moving on and leaving. Raka finds it difficult to accept this process at first as she watches her friend Ku have her day of flight and depart. She eventually considers her past life and realizes the importance of forgiveness and leaning on others, helping her dear friend Reki depart on her day of flight. Without without the heavy lore, Angel Beats follows a similar trajectory, um, also communicating the themes of acceptance and moving on. Like Raka, Otonashi starts out with no memory of his past life, only recovering his memory after he begins to understand the situation in the afterlife. While Otonashi is first led to believe the purpose of the afterlife is to fight against quote unquote angel to prevent fellow students from being obliterated, he realizes what appears to be obliteration is actually the process of achieving a sense of fulfillment and moving on from the afterlife, helping his friends reckon with their own lives, deal with their death, and final acceptance. Different takes on a similar theme. Hey Jason, I see you're here. And if you can, I can share the screen. That'd be well. What's your favorite ancient hymn? Don't have one. What's your favorite card? Don't have one. You shop at Walmart or at Walmart? Uh, I love you, oh, I love you. Wanna join the joyride? Join the joyride, yeah. Let's see. All right. The premises of Haibane Renmei and Angel Beats may mirror one another, but each anime takes on a unique tone, um, and the presentation of the afterlife itself is vastly different between them. Haibane Renmei offers more, much more in-depth lore in its depiction of a town filled with angelic beings governed by a strict set of biological and societal rules. While there is some extent of world building in Angel Beats, as well as it is far less celestial in tone, um, instead presenting a high school setting with action-packed conflict. Based on the setting and world building in each series, it's clear that Ebane Renmei is much more symbolic and artful. Aesthetic is muted, deeply reflecting the story's emotion, and its introspective and symbolic nature leaves much to interpretation. Angel Beats, on the other hand, is much more explicit in its storytelling and detail, with crisper art and a bent toward comedy. Even amid its more overtly emotional tone, though both series are exceptional, Ibane Renmei is more imaginative as in its depiction of the afterlife, while Angel Beats provides a more intense experience. With different presentations on the same subject, both Haibane Renmei and Angel Beats provide viewers with unique and emotional experiences. Anime fans should be sure to watch both series and see for themselves how each depict the afterlife. Um, Ready for a box of tissues in hand, as both are certain to leave. It was beautiful. I have watched both, as I said, they're both pretty interesting, pretty good series. Huh. Anyways, you know, ready to move on to the last article we're gonna look at tonight. Little change of pace here, looking at male idol anime because you don't see a lot of male. You see more female oriented anime, idol anime, but I don't see as much male idol anime. So I'm just gonna take a peek at this, and then we will start to wind things down. Let's see, where are we at timeline? Already past the 2 hour mark. Okay. Getting ready to head into this then. Okay, how Idolish 7 stands out from other male idol anime. The popularity of male-oriented idol anime has been steadily rising over the years, but Idolish 7 in particular sticks out from the rest. Article by Erica Hennessy, published 4 hours ago. So, whenever someone thinks about watching an idol anime, the first one that pops up is usually Love Live School Idol Project, which is true. That one's probably one of the most well known, and its various spin-offs. Others that may show up are Zombieland Saga and Aikatsu Idol Activity. Also, I think some other ones that are pretty well known, and there's Chance Pop Sessions. There's AKB 4975, whatever that one is. However, male-based idol anime have also seen a breakthrough in the genre, including Uta no Prince Sama, Shonen Hollywood, Star Miyu, and hilarious Seko Boys. Despite their high rating and reception, however, they all pale in comparison to another male-skewed idol anime known as Idolish 7. With the second half of its third season on the way, it continues to outshine the aforementioned Idol series due to its realistic portrayal of what it takes to make it big. Idolish 7 approaches fame differently than many idol anime. Based on the 2015 rhythm game of the same name, Idolish 7 focuses on a woman named Sumugi Takanashi, who is unexpectedly assigned to manage her father's agency's new idol group, consisting of 7 young men who all have their own ambitions and personal lives. While this may seem like the male version of Love Live School Idol Project or another reverse harem anime, um, it is actually far from that. Rather, it takes a look at each of the characters and what they have gone through to choose to become idols, showing that fame isn't always everything, nor is it easy to obtain and deal with. But several other factors make Idolish 7 stand out as well. The boys did not succeed right away. The idol group's struggles in Idolish 7 are first demonstrated near the story's beginning. Unlike Love Live's Honoka, Kotori, and Umi, the boys here are seen constantly trying to produce their first successful debut. For example, not even 10 people attend their first performance despite Samugi's efforts to ensure thousands. While the group seems to take it very well, Samugi feels humiliated. This shows how the road to idolhood is not simple, and all 7 of them had to work together to accomplish any feats. Something that is all too known in the real life music industry. Another setback the group must deal with comes when one of their songs is stolen from them by a rival company. But nevertheless, they manage to pull through. Members of Idolish 7 do have drama. I'm glad to see a third person in here. Hopefully, you're enjoying the content right now. Let's see. Even though the boys in Idolish 7 may have to work with each other, this does not mean they always get along, and they can argue over the pettiest things. It is shown when 2 of them decide to become their own duo, much to the chagrin of the other members. Although this is a result of the group struggling to blend together as one, its drawback highlights just how hard it can be in the world of entertainment. However, these fights don't necessarily have to be about serious topics, and some can even be playful. These random comedic moments provide a great balance for the relationships between the boys, showing their development as both business partners and friends. The group manager Sumugi is more than a audience surrogate. Although many are quick to assume that Sumugi is just a self-insert or a love interest for the boys, That is not the case in Idolish 7. As a manager, it is essential that she keeps the group in check, and Samugi, in contrast to her upbeat and lively personality, is not afraid to be serious with them when necessary. Despite the idol group's various shortcomings, she remains hopeful that they will one day achieve success. Aside from being able to maintain the group, Samugi is exceptionally talented in set design, a much needed factor to obtain a live show's desired effect. She is also responsible for getting the word of their first concert out there, and while it was not a success, the boys could not have survived and gained their first few fans without her. All right. Oh wow, that one went quickly, very quickly. Alrighty then. So that's all the articles we're gonna go over tonight. Of course, I do, as I said, have some wrestling news to kind of pass along, wrestling roundup, as it were. Um, so first, I'm going to the WWE. So, in of course, the continued efforts of Triple H to make his mark on the company as CEO, there's been a talk of a few things. First off, Triple H has said there's some indication that Triple H does not plan on using part timers. So he's not looking to like use Brock or maybe even there's a chance that he may take the titles off of Roman Reigns for that reason. He doesn't want to use part timers. He wants to actually bring guys in, want to give their full commitment to the company. Also, been some talk that WWE wants Chris Jericho back, and it's possible as well that they may have been tampering um, with his contract. I mean, so I guess it's considered unethical if you contact somebody who's actually under contract with a rival company to try to get them to come over to your side while they're still on the contract. Um, let's see, what are some other? Um, uh, oh yeah, and then of course the WWE does have its women's tag title tournament continuing on. I look to probably crown a women's tag title soon enough here. Let's see what else. Um, okay, so I guess we can move on to AEW news now. Um, Now tonight, of course, on Dynamite, and I will probably talk more about the results tomorrow. But what you have is you have the unification match between CM Punk and John Moxley. CM Punk, who is the AEW World Champion, Moxley, who's the um, AEW interim heavyweight champion. Kind of feeling. So when Punk defeated Adam Page back at Double or Nothing, hurt his foot and had to, basically take. Now, based on some of Excalibur's comments that when I watched the preview for that match and stuff like that, he indicated that Punk and I believe AEW as well were looking for him to have another Summer of Punk, but because of his injury, it didn't happen. So what they did was they kind of created the interim world title, put that on John Moxley, and Moxley has carried the company on his back since. Now, initially, this unification match was supposed to happen at the upcoming All Out pay-per-view on September 4th. But now it was set for tonight. I think a couple factors in that. One, I think Punk's foot is taking longer to heal than they thought it would. Two, I think Moxley is proving to be a popular champion. And three, I think because of some of the issues backstage, they probably want to take the title off of Punk. Also tonight was another first round match was the third of 4 first round matches in the trios tournament. Tonight it was going to be United Empire of Will Ospreay and Aussie Open of Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher taking on the Death Triangle of All Atlantic champion Pac and the Bastard Pac, as well as the Lucha Brothers, Pento Scora and Ray Phoenix. You also had Dr. Britt Baker taking on Kylan King. And then in a battle of father versus son, Billy Gunn with the Acclaimed in his corner taking on Colton Gunn with Austin Gunn in his corner. So, plus they're going to hear from Ricky Starks in regards to his situation with Powerhouse Hobbs. Now, on this Friday's edition of Rampage as well, as we look ahead to that, the last of the first round. Now, the trios title is set to be completed at All Out. So they look to have the finals there. Their finals are there. Already signed. Aside from that, of course, Thunder Rosa and Tony Storm for the AEW Women's Championship. And you have the Casino ladder match going on. Now, there have been some rumblings in the backstage in AEW's backstage area. Some people have been unhappy, or there has been some talk that maybe some people, are kind of wanting to go back possibly to WWE now that Triple H is in charge. They didn't like it there when Vince was there, but now that Triple H is in charge, they may be looking at possibly coming back. But of course, a lot of them are still under contract to AEW, so I don't know. Let's see what. On this, as I said, on this Friday's edition of Rampage, you're going to have the last of the trios first round matches as the House of Black of Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews taking on 3 members of the Dark Order of Alex Reynolds, John Silver, and Ten. So that's going to be happening as well on this Friday. So, let's see what else. Okay, so that's pretty much all I needed to talk about for wrestling. So, I think it'd be a good time to start winding things down a bit here and finishing things up. So, let me just, you know, all right. So yeah. So I'm just looking some stuff up real quick just to make sure I got everything. Yep. Oh yeah, the other match that was going to be going on tonight was Dax Harwood of FTR taking on Jay Lethal. So that's basically all that we have for you there. So now as I said, to finish today being Wednesday, August the 24th, 2022. Let's go ahead and take a look back at this day in each history. History. Oh, okay. So first off, we're going to head back 30 years ago today, back to 1992. Um, and on this date in 1992, 30 years ago today, the anime Yatamon premiered on the NHK on this date um, back in 1992. It ran for 170 episodes, I believe. From what I understand, I guess the episodes only ran like 10 minutes or so. But yeah, so the series every weekday, the 21 week. So all right, 21 times five. So, yeah, okay. But anyways, so on this date in 1992, 30 years ago today, Group TAC's Yadomon premiered on NHK. So that happened there. Then also moving on to 2000, just 20 years ago today. First off, on this date, 20 years ago today, uh, 3PW, fully known as Propane Wrestling, had its Babes, Belts, and Blood event at Viking Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Viking Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, Viking Hall is basically where the ECW arena was. XPW used it for a year. But on this date, 20 years ago today, Propane Wrestling had its Babes, Belts, and Blood match, in which it featured a one-night tournament to crown the inaugural 3PW Heavyweight Championship, which was, of course, won by Gary Wolf, formerly one half of the Pitbulls with Anthony Durante. Some other notable names that wrestled in the tournament included Devin Storm, Chris Chetty, Blue Meanie, Joey Matthews, and Christian York. Basically, a lot of the guys from ECW and some guys from ECWA came in and wrestled there, and with Gary Wolf becoming the first ever 3PW world heavyweight champion. Also, the show also featured it featured a T-shirt contest hosted by Ron Jeremy. Some of the non-tournament matches, or I guess there was only one non-tournament match. That was the main event after the heavyweight title, after the final match for the vacant 3PW, or the first, the crown, the inaugural 3PW, in which Kevin Sullivan, in the main event, saw Kevin Sullivan defeat Bam Bam Bigelow and Dusty Rhodes in a three-way match. So you did have a lot of ECW alum as well as some ECWA guys. So on this date, 20 years ago today, 3PW's Babes, Belts, and Blood was held at Viking Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 20 years ago today. So with that, moving on to the next piece of history here. Also on this date in 2002, 20 years ago today, the Canadian animated children's series produced for Canada's Family Channel, Henry's World, premiered on this date in 2002 as well. So on this date in 2002, the Canadian animated series Henry's World premiered on this date as well. So with that, have one more piece of niche history, and then it will be done for the night. As on this date, 11 years ago today, in 2011, date in 2011. The fifth and final issue of Batman Arkham City went on sale on this date on this end for $2.99, 32 pages. The story written Exposure was the name of the story. Features Batman from the video game. Written by Paul Dini with Carlos Deanda doing the art, lettering by Travis Lanham, and Gabe Elty did the coloring on this. So with that, guys, I thank y'all for being here tonight. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. Glad to see everybody here. Hope to see you back tomorrow night. Now, don't forget, of course, Friday, I'm going to have Rick Piper joining me as co-host as we continue our look at April of comics that went on sale April 1939. This week, focusing in on Fox Feature Syndicate, most notably Wonder Comics Volume 1, Number 2. That'll be Friday. Of course, let's see. Oh, hey, Woody. Hey, Woody. Got here just in time for the... I hope you were able to catch some of the history, but... anyways, guys, you can always go back, because I do keep my videos up, so if you want to go back and look over the stories I just reported on and went through, you're more than welcome to do that. I hope everybody will... I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.